Hello, welcome to World History Day 5. This is Lecture 5B. 5B, and here we go. So we are still considering our decisions for Hammurabi's Code, comparing that to his decisions. And to remind us of where this fits in our big picture of Mesopotamia. So Babylon 1 is a famous civilization to arise out of Mesopotamia. Babylon 2 is even more famous, and that's going to come later. But Babylon 1 is pretty famous on the heels of the Sumerian civilization and then the Akkadian, and then we have Babylon 1. You really just need to remember one thing about Babylon 1, and that is Hammurabi's Code. So that's the big thing to come out of Babylon 1, and it's the first written legal system which gave protection potentially to criminals. They didn't have to rely on the capriciousness of people who are really angry at what they've done at the moment. Although his laws are so harsh you've seen so far, perhaps they would rather have relied on the whim of a moment, but they were considered more reliable because they were written down. You had standards and consistency and precedents. But again, they were really unequal depending on where you were in the Babylon 1 social sphere. They were much harsher in their punishments as a law to the peasants and certainly to the slaves. Peasants and slaves got almost no protection under the law and had to give a great deal of themselves if they injured someone who was considered higher by that artificial system. Remember that people try to rank other people a lot of times, and hierarchy in and of itself may not be avoidable or always bad, but a lot of times it's used by humans to treat people as unequal in their value, the value of their human life, and that God has created us all in his image. So our value to God is priceless. It is worth the salvation of Jesus, every single person that we see, and no person is worth less than another person, whether they're small or large or old or young, So when people try to artificially say that certain life is valued more than others, that is wrong and damaging. So this is what has happened. A wife has ignored her duties. She has belittled her husband. This is case 6 to write in your notes. Code 143, what should be done? You've had some time to look at this on the screen. So let's go ahead and show it. Pause the lecture if you need to. This is what Hammurabi decided. If the woman has not been careful, but has gadded about neglecting her house and belittling her husband, they shall throw that woman into the water. That might seem a lighter punishment considering the other ones that we've looked at, but keep in mind that in periods of history, including this one, it was not common for people to be taught how to swim. And there were a lot of superstitions about evil being in the water. So Case 7, Code 195, what should happen to a boy who slaps his father? Of course, we want to honor our parents. We don't want to disrespect and certainly not physically malign them. What did Hammurabi think should happen to such a child or young adult? Hand cut off. There it is. There it is. There are still some harsh punishments in the Middle East today. And keep in mind that the larger picture of Mesopotamia is that we're in the Middle East. So a lot of history of these kinds of punishments there. Think about if this would help children's relationship with their parents, this kind of a law. We'll discuss this after lecture today. Case 8, Code 2. How is the truth determined when one man brings an accusation against another? As you're thinking about what your response in your notes is to this fairly vague question here, and by the way, conundrum is a fancy word for question, if you're putting that together, or puzzle or decision, what should we do with this? A legal quandary, but question basically. As you're thinking about what to do with this, remember that this is Hammurabi's Code from Babylon 1, first legal system. We're in Mesopotamia, the land between the rivers. How's the truth determined? Hammurabi says, okay, it's a little bit lengthy, bear with me. If anyone bring an accusation against a man and the accused go to the river and leap into the river, if he sink in the river, his accuser shall take possession of his house. Okay, but if the river prove that the accused is not guilty and he escape unhurt, then he who had brought the accusation, shall be put to death, while he who leaped into the river